All right, guys, hear me out. I've been trying to record this introduction for like the longest time and I just can't get it working. So I'm just gonna make it short and simple and not go too deep and not explain myself too much. Okay, so we're getting Thorns Altar on the 5th of June, right? And I've kept trying to go through the introduction of telling, oh, why I might not recommend people to pull him and whatnot, because, you know, it's just a lot of reasons, right? And every time I say that, I somehow mess up because I know everyone loves Thorns and it's like stupid thing to tell you guys not to pull him because, you know, I'm going to get a lot of hate, but I will have to do it anyway. That's why I have to keep retaking and it's just really hard. So I'm just going to make it straight and simple. No, majority of us just shouldn't pull him and I'll explain why next. All right, let's go into the details. So Thorns Altar is a Alchemist. So a lot of us would know someone like Tin Man would be a Alchemist, and if you guys didn't know, they throw out this like object that can stay on the field, and even if you retreat the operator, the skill effect will stay there. That's like kind of the whole thing about Alchemist. They have this kind of new attack range, as you guys can see on the bottom left of the screen, and I believe a lot of us has already used Alchemist quite a bit because of IS5. So that is Alchemist for you. As you can see, my Thorns is P2, so costing 17 DP. At normally will cost you 18 DP, but I think that's not that big of a deal. 18, 17 DP is not too much. Now the issue is the whole kit, the other kit. So let's get into that as well. But first of all, let's take a look at his talents. So his first talent is that he will increase his attack by 10% or 14% if you're at pot 5. When there are other operators within his attack area, the item that he throws out, the alchemy unit thing, will last an extra 3 seconds. That goes to 4 seconds at pot 5, or if you go with module level 3, you can extend that by another further 1 second. So 4 seconds without pot, and then 5 seconds with pot 5. And then you will get also extra 5% of attack, so 15% of attack, or 19% of attack at max, if you have pot 5 plus module level 3. His second talent is that when he's on the field, all ally unit will gain 5 attack speed. All enemy units will have -5 attack speed. So that is actually not that important of a value per se. But if there is a path on the tile that has on the field that has 6 consecutive tiles in a straight line that enemy can walk on, can travel onto, then that effect will be doubled. So let's say if it's a path that has like 6 deployable tiles, like ground tiles, yep, that is a straight line. But enemies must be able to walk onto it. So stairs will also count. The blue tile, the gate will also count. The red tile will also count. All those count. So if you can see enemy that can walk onto it or can travel onto it, so even if it's a hole that enemies drop into, that also counts. You can actually see how it works by as you enter the stage, you will actually see like white lines going across the map, scanning it, and wherever the white line is, that is where the effect is doubled. So that goes up to +10 attack speed and -10 attack speed for the enemy. So combine that with other things, you can actually alter the enemy's attack speed and ally attack speed quite a bit, combining with like operators like Zaylige and whatnot, but I think that's a bit too hardcore for most of us, so I'll just leave it at that. There are some potential use cases there, but most of the time I would say just copy someone else's homework if you think you really need that, like highest risk CC situation or something like that. So just keep in mind that that's a thing. Just leave it at that. So that's his basic talents. Not too weak, but you know, it's actually pretty good most of the time, especially this increased duration in his skill. Pretty important, I would say. So those are his talents. Skill 1. So once activated this skill, Thorns Altar will throw a alchemy unit towards an allied unit. And within a 3x3 area of where that unit lands, it will heal all units within that area by 20% of his attack per second, and give all units within that area 100 defense for up to 8 seconds at M3. And at M3, this skill also only costs 5 SP, so 5 SP for a 8-second duration. It's kind of pretty good if you look at it that way. And since it is automatically activated, you can just leave him be. So you can kind of treat him as like a pseudo medic, but also heals units like Mudrock or Wizardell Summon. Dang it, I already gave it away. So basically the only situation in nowadays is that, yeah, you can heal the summon of Wizardell so to keep him alive, in which keeps his Wizardell alive. So that's kind of the best use case for this skill, and really nothing else, because you don't really need operators like Mudrock and whatnot, or like other summons anymore nowadays. You just Wizardell everything. And even not so, like you can use it on let's say the Birdcage of Nightingale, which actually like heals up the Birdcage, so make it infinite duration. That's kind of a possible use case, but I would also argue that the Birdcage hasn't really been used for a long time, and so I really wouldn't just M3 this skill just for that use case as of now. Maybe in the future when it's like, oh, there's this maybe CC or some other situation, then maybe that can be a choice, but that will be something that we'll see in the future, because right now there isn't a single use case for this skill that I think will be worthy of first pulling him and then get skill 1 to M3. Oh, and module level 3, because that will also increase the duration by another further 3 seconds, so make it a 11-second duration. So you can actually heal like 2 places at the same time, or you can just let it stack, so you can double the healing, so to 200 and something, because it's only 20% of his attack and his basic is pretty low. So even if you stack it twice, it's still not that much. Yeah, not really worth it in my opinion. So that's skill 1 for you. Skill 2. Upon activation, he will throw a unit towards an enemy within his attack area. If there is no unit selectable within his attack area, he will throw the unit right in front of him at the furthest tile possible. So in this case, it is 2 tiles in front of him. The initial radius of the tile of the effect of this skill is 1.1 tile radius, and it will expand by 0.143 tiles radius per second, and it moves away from him at a 0.1 tile per second speed. Yes, I know it's very specific, but there's a reason why I have to explain that. Now, this skill will last 15 seconds from the beginning and will decrease all enemies within that area. All enemies within the area decreases their healing and recovery effect by 50%. So it will cancel 50% of their HP regeneration, basically. And they will take up to, well, that's actually up to 180% of his attack as arch damage per second, and all ally unit within that area will also recover 18% of his attack as HP. And it will gradually increase for a duration of 15 seconds. So the duration of the skill can be expanded up to 18-20 seconds by his talent, but the expanding effect of the skill will not. So at 15 seconds after the skill has been tossed, it would reach its largest area and stop moving completely. So as you can guess, this is a area with huge area, and that's really about it. Because the low base attack of this skill, the healing also isn't really the base attack is pretty low for this skill to do anything, to be honest. And even though technically speaking it kind of heals, it doesn't heal himself that much, because as you can see in this demonstration, assuming I have recorded it, when you throw the skill without any enemy in sight, it will just keep traveling, and within 15 seconds, there's actually no way of him getting healed within that 15-second duration. But in order to make him be healed by his own skill, you gotta have a unit, a ally operator within that area to extend the skill duration for him to be healed for 3 seconds or 5 seconds at pot 5 module level 3. So you basically want enemies to be within his attack area, and then make sure that he plots the unit on the enemy so that he can actually be benefited by the healing effect, which is really inconvenient because you kind of have to rely on the enemies for him to be healed. Unlike, you know, Tin Man skill 2, you just block it out and then he will actually heal himself all the time. So I think that's a huge pain point in the skill 2 design. And the interesting thing about this skill is just basically the really huge areas. So I'm just going to give it away. In RA, you can actually use him to mine like huge areas of mines and like metals, rocks and whatnot, which is actually, I think, the best use case of him. So if you're an RA player, rejoice, I guess, because you have someone that is really good at mining. Now at M3, this skill, the SP requirement also drops down to 20 SP, so you can use this skill once every 20 seconds, and you can charge this skill twice. So that's skill 2 for you. Basically another skill that I wouldn't recommend anyone to M3, like I didn't do so myself. Even if you really wanted to, yeah, you can probably just do it if you're playing RA a lot, which I know there's quite a few of you out there actually. So that would be skill 2. Finally, skill 3. So there's 2 effects of when it comes to skill 3. There's a passive effect which increases its attack area similar to Wizardel. I think that's a straightforward enough example. So greatly increase attack area, and once you activate the skill, he will throw 4 alchemy units towards 4 operators within his attack area that has the lowest block count. Now within 23 seconds of the skill duration, the enemies within that area that is surrounded by these 4 operators that is like connected. So if you put down operators in a, let's say, a square, then you will have a square area. If you put them in a rectangle, they'll have a rectangle area. If you have only 3 operators, you will make a triangle. Within that area, enemies will have minus 15% attack, minus 35% defense, and minus 35% arch resistance. And they will gradually, they will take 210% of Thorns Altar's attack as arch damage, and the effect will gradually increase. So after 15 seconds, it will reach the max of minus 30% attack and minus 50% defense and minus 50% arch resistance and 390% of his attack as arch damage. So as you can see, it actually takes 15 seconds to fully charge up. And then after that, so 15 seconds afterwards, you will get 8 seconds if you don't have talent 1 activated, which is really a really rare case because you actually want operated within his attack area to, you know, join together to make, like, to throw the units to. So you minimum be getting 26 seconds minus 15, 11 seconds of skill 3 duration at max effect, or plus 2 more seconds, so 13 seconds of full effect at potential and module. The interesting thing about this skill is the way that you actually need other operators to cooperate with him to get the full effect of this skill. And with that, you will get a really pretty decent total damage. You're looking at somewhere similar to Ayafella's Volcano, so skill 3 total damage, and you're getting pretty decent minus, well, not really, because the decrease in defense isn't as good as Shemaire's because you have to wait for it to gradually increase. So you're really looking at the decreased resistance on enemies, because that actually is the best decrease in resistance compared to all other operators. I think Ifrit only has minus 44%, if I recall correctly. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's the number. So this actually decreases the enemy's resistance more than any other operators. So it sounds like this is a pretty good like damage buffer, right? Or a debuffer towards enemy. But there's one huge problem with this skill. Like I said, you require at least 4 units within his attack area for him to plant down skill 3. Now, himself can count as 1. You will need 3 other operators within his attack area to have the best coverage of this skill 3. In which you will have to alter the positioning. You will have to have good tiles on the maps. And you have to have three more extra deployment limits used by this skill to get the most out of it. Now, the good thing about this skill is that you can just toss it out and then just retreat all the operators. It doesn't matter. You can even retreat Thorns Altar. It won't matter at all. It will only record the moment that the skill is casted, and remember that number and just keep the skill duration for 23 seconds or whatever, 28 seconds. So that is the strength of this skill, in my opinion. But it still does not take away from the fact that you will need to have 4 operators deployed on the moment that the skill is used. And in a lot of situations, let's say as an example, in IS 5, you will have a debuff where you have -3 deployment limit, which basically means that you will have to use all your deployment limit, which may be 3 at that time. And you, like with 3 operators, you won't even get the full effect of this skill for a debuff, for a damage buff, when you can just like be dishing out a good damage operator to deal the damage. Yeah, that's not really going to be happening, is it? And then sure, you can take effects like Wrath of Syracusans, because like I said, it only records the value of the operator the moment the skill is used. So yes, you can take full effect of Wrath of Syracusans and whatnot and all the buffs that you want on him, which you can stack the damage up pretty high. But then the issue comes down to, what are you really looking for within Thorns, right? If you're looking for damage, we have other better damage operators. Like we have logos to deal the damage if we wanted to. If we're looking for debuff, true, or damage buff, true, he's pretty good at that. But if you guys realize, he doesn't have any slow or crowd control capabilities. So unlike Suzuran, which actually does increase a lot of damage as well, she also has huge AoE slow, which Thorns does not have. And Suzuran can do that all by herself, while Thorns will need 3 more other operators to work with him to get the full effect out of skill 3. Oh, and yes, again, limited by how the map is designed. So with all that combined, even though I did M3 skill 3 myself, after giving it a try, I don't even think this skill is worth using at all. And combined with all skill 1, skill 2 and the entire kit, there's just not much use case for Thorns. So that will be it for skill 3, and I want to really go down to like each use cases of Thorns. So first of all, I want to talk about his usual daily usage. So in today, after Wizardell has been released, in most situations, unless you're really like dedicated, you just like, I want to use all the time and use all my brain power all the time on all event stages, most likely you'll be bringing Wizardell, which basically destroys everything. You wouldn't need another buffer to increase damage. You probably be better off just bring another DPS to cover the downtime of Wizardell than bring a debuffer, because Wizardell already kills everything. So does Logos, so does Milanar, so does so many other operators. You don't really need another damage operator or a buffer. Yeah, like I said, this skill deals equivalent damage-ish to Volcano, but do not forget, Volcano can be used alone, has better AoE, because no matter how you connect, like this is like his attack area is kind of limited, while Volcano has just a better area, can be activated faster. So if all you want is damage, you can just still use Volcano anyway. And yeah, you wouldn't really use him in your normal event stages, especially if you're limited by the way that your operators can be deployed, like where your operators can be deployed. Now in CC, there's a lot of hope in CC that I don't know of because I'm not that into like attack speed calculation and then knowing all the stats, and then you know you have to calculate all that. I would probably be better off just copying someone else's homework at that point if I were to do all that math. But yes, there is hope within him because you can still, you know, dish out his skill 3 and then retreat everyone. So that is still a potential use case there. Just note that you will still need other operators to do all the crowd control, like all the slow as well. So how useful would his skill be is still uncertain. So if you're a huge CC player and like you're like, okay, I want to do max, like the highest risk possible in all CCs, which we get like once a year, go ahead, pull, because you're probably pulling everyone anyway. Now IS is a really torn thing for me because I think every operator has a chance in IS nowadays, especially if you consider like the IS only modules. So I just tend to want to get everyone when it comes to IS. But if we don't count that in, because he is still a permanently obtainable operator, he's not a limited operator. So I wouldn't count all the like future potentials. I'll just look at now. I would not use him in IS 2, 3, 4, and 5. If I have better choices. Like there are just other operators that are more worth picking than him in all situations. So I wouldn't really consider him in IS. RA, like I explained, skill 2 is a very good skill for RA. So if you want someone to mine, like do all the mining in RA, this is probably your best pick. And yeah, I think you'll probably enjoy him pretty much. So this is probably the only situation where I would recommend anyone to pull Thorns Altar. In SSS, I think he still has the issue of deployment limit as well when it comes to skill 3. And even if you were to use skill 2, you have to keep clicking skill 2. So even if you have like a lot of SP region on his skill 2, it probably wouldn't be that good to use of a skill. You would probably just want someone that can just, you know, AFK because of how long SSS are. So that's about it for Thorns Altar, I guess. It is just a really unfortunate situation where even though I really want to like him, I think Alchemist has a high potential because I use a lot of Tin Man in IS5. I think what they could have done is if they just made skill 3 similar to Tin Man skill 2, where you can just throw it out in like a fixed radius, I think Thorns Altar would be much better in my opinion, like much easier to use. But they went the route and they outdone themselves, I guess. It just made this mechanic way too complicated and just way too much work just to put him to use. That's just how it is, and I just can't recommend him in this current situation. Maybe in the future we'll get like IS limited modules and whatnot that can completely change him, but I just can't recommend anyone to pull in the hopes of something that they didn't even promise. You know, like sure, some people would buy things because of future promises, but we don't even have a promise here, so why pull? So hopefully I helped you guys gain some knowledge on him and have made your decisions. And I will see you guys in the next video where I will definitely be pulling him, because as I always do, I just pull everyone for the sake of IS and future potentials that I just told you guys not to do. Yay! I'll see you guys there. Bye.